Welcome to This Endorian Life, a Star Wars podcast from the Radio Meanwhile Network. My name is Steve Rudd.
I'm Nick Gunning, and today we're following the Ewoks from Return to the Jedi to the TV movies, the cartoons, the comics, and beyond.
And beyond. Today we are discussing Ewoks issue number 6, The Ice Demon. This issue hit the stands on December 3rd, 1985. You
Oh,
are wee boys.
what a time. What a time.
What a I
Today's
know.
issue was illustrated by Walter Kremer, written once again by David Manick. It is
Hmm.
included in the collection the Dark Horse put out, a softcover collection called The Star Wars Omnibus Ewoks and Droids, which we both have.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
beautiful thing. Look at that. We got it.
This is it. It was only issued in this collection, or was it issued as a
It was a
itself?
single
It was a
issue, and then
single.
it came in this when Dark Horse got the rights in, like, the
Right.
'90s or something. And
That's
then
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, and then Star Wars, when it went to Marvel again, because originally Marvel had the Star Wars line
Mhm.
back in the '70s. When it went back, they reprinted it again in a different collection that's like Star Wars Legends, Droids, and
Okay,
Ewoks.
yeah,
So,
that makes sense because
it's made
that's
a
what
couple of cycles. Yeah.
we've seen that with the Ewoks TV show and the
Yeah.
Droids TV show, how they kinda segment several episodes
Yep.
together and release them on
Yep.
VHS.
Yep.
So it's interesting that, like, the comic came out, and then the next time you see it, it's basically
Yeah.
in the omnibus of
True.
Droids,
Yep.
and there's no, like, "Oh, these 4 issues are,"
Yeah.
slapped together
Yeah.
like a graphic novel like we see
No.
today with, like, Batman comics, Superman
Yeah.
comics, they'll do
The
that.
closest we got was that
Lines.
little Flight to Danger that had the first 5 episodes or issues, but that's not even
Yeah,
thematic, it's just the 5 issues,
they're
you know what
just
I mean?
5
It's
issues,
yeah, it's
yeah.
not like, these are all the ones with whatever, dinosaur villains. It's just the first 5.
There are a lot with, like, dinosaur
I know, that's why that came to mind, because there's a lot of dinosaur issues. Alright. Our featured crew member today is George Rasso. So he's the colorist on this
Mm.
issue and several others of Ewoks and Droids. He has an extensive history in comics, working on some truly epic runs. He served as the inker and often the uncredited colorist alongside the legendary Jack Kirby on series like
Ah,
Fantastic Four, Sergeant Fury, and The Avengers.
The Avengers.
Have you heard of them, The Avengers?
Uh, I believe
You should check them out.
so.
You should check them
Yeah,
out. Yeah, another
yeah.
Disney property.
Oh, it is, that's right.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
yeah.
Was that always a Disney property, or did they take no, they bought that over, right? They bought it
Yeah, they
from
bought Marvel. They bought
yeah.
Marvel. Marvel used to
When
be its own thing.
when was it? When was the movie that was the first Disney property? Was it one of the Avengers movies?
Yeah, because Iron Man wasn't
Or was
like a
Iron Man
Disney
3
movie.
or
It
something?
was like after the Iron Man movie came out. Yeah, I'm not sure which one was the
Yeah, you
official
might be
Disney
right.
acquisition, because Marvel Studios was established within the run of the MCU. So,
Yeah, what was the first one? It was
it
it
was
was I mean, truly, Captain America, right? That was pretty much the first.
no, no, Iron Man was the first of the movies.
Oh, it
It was
was.
yeah, it was Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, and then Captain America.
Yeah, and Thor was in there too. Thor was one of the OG
Yep,
ones as
yep,
well. Top
yep.
like the first at least the first 5.
Yeah, because you got all those before they led you to the, Avengers.
The Avengers, yeah, yeah.
The first Marvel movie to be produced by
Huh.
Marvel Studios after it was bought by Disney was Iron Man 3, you're right.
It was Iron Man 3, okay. I
Iron
mean,
Man 3.
I feel like that's
Kinda makes sense,
that one
doesn't it?
that one
Kinda
was
makes sense.
obvious. Yeah, I was just like,
Yeah,
"It's gotta be Iron Man 3."
yeah, yeah,
Because that was
good
the one that
call.
I was just like, Iron Man
Huh,
1, Iron Man 2, and then Iron Man 3 was just
yeah, sure,
kind of a
okay,
different movie. Yeah, it was
alright.
kinda yeah, yeah,
Different thing
so
happening,
makes
good
sense.
pull, good pull. Alright, tell me about the Ice Demon.
Alright, let's get into it. Uber
Alright.
detailed plot of Ewoks number 6, The Ice Demon. Ooh, we open to Wicket attempting to emulate Master Logray's skill with crystal light spell casting. Huh. Tebow points out that Wicket never really cared about magic,
True.
but that doesn't deter Wicket from attempting magic anyway, though rather unsuccessfully, nearly burning himself. Logray recommends Wicket concentrate more. After showing so much magic, Logray retires to his hut. Wicket believes if he only had Logray's staff, he would be able to perform magic better and quicker. He sneaks in and steals Logray's staff while he sleeps and begins to practice magic on his own friend Tebow. Wicket lifts Tebow off the ground, tossing him around in the air. Meanwhile, in his frost cave, the demon observes Wicket's infant use of magic and believes he's the perfect person to manipulate into allowing him to escape. From his lair, the ice demon causes everyone to rapidly become overheated. In a moment of desperation, Wicket calls upon the winds of the Ice Mountain to relieve them of their terrible heat. In doing so, he transports himself into the ice demon lair. Tebow and Nisa report what happened to Logray. He is gravely concerned because he imprisoned the ice demon Stagor many years ago and fears Wicket may let him out, so he sets off after him. Now transported inside an ice cave, Wicket is confused, but suddenly comes to when he's confronted by the ice demon. The ice demon attempts to snatch Logray's staff from Wicket's grasp, but fails as its magic prevents him from doing so. He then puts a spell on Wicket, allowing him to control Wicket so that Wicket will turn the staff against Logray. When Logray comes to retrieve Wicket and his staff, Wicket reluctantly attacks Logray, but its magic is useless, as magic from his own staff cannot harm him. Wicket is commanded even harder to attack Logray, using the staff to dislodge large icicles above Logray, which he deflects with magic. Furious that his attempts to claim the staff have all failed, the ice demon forces Logray into giving it to him, threatening to harm Wicket if he refuses. Stubbornly, Logray releases the magic bound to the staff, allowing Stagor to snatch it from Wicket. But Logray also hints to Wicket that he could have defeated Stagor if he had used one simple trick and only concentrated more. Wicket quickly realizes what Logray means and summons light crystals over the ice demon's head. Stagor laughs as the lights have no effect on him. However, the heat emanating from them melts the snow above him. The dripping water causes Stagor to begin melting. With the ice demon defeated, Wicket apologizes to Logray for taking his staff and quickly decides he'd rather watch magic being done. Roll credits.
Kind of nice to see a little bit more action in the village and like CeeLo Gray and Nisa. I don't know. It felt
Yeah.
like the last couple we've had really small casts, and we still kind of do. But something about like taking it from the village, Wicket being transported, it just felt a little bit more full than some of the stories have, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, when they have like multiple places that make sense, it's
Yeah.
better instead of like their linear stories where they're like in the forest, then they're in the
Yeah.
desert,
Yeah.
then they're in the swamp, and then you're just like,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Well, and Wicket being transported through magic rather than like,
That
all
was
right, we got
cool.
to wander through the woods. It's like, okay, that's a little bit more palpable. But
I
you
did like
know,
that that's how the ice demon set up that transportation
yeah,
by causing them to be hot so that they were
yeah,
like desperate and called for, and Wicket just
right.
randomly calls for the winds from the ice mountain, because he knows they're cold and is able to do that.
Little confused how the ice monster can be in his prison and watch everything that happens and affects the outside
And
world.
effect.
Seems
Yeah,
like
that's not a very good prison, Logray.
it seems like if he can do all that, he doesn't really need Wicket. But okay, uh, I
That's
liked
true.
I I liked the whole idea of Wicket being like, I can try magic too, because he's such a wise guy
I
in the
like
show,
that.
you know.
Yeah.
So I thought it was kind of cool, like playing with those dynamics and stuff.
And
And
he thought he'd
Tebow
be
just
better
came,
at it.
yeah,
Tebow's kind of like, "Oh, I don't know,
yeah.
man,"
Hey
like
bro, why don't you pump those little brakes and stay in your little Ewok lane, okay?
kind of my it's my angle. I'm the plucky, cute one that
Right,
does
yeah.
magic. That's my thing.
Your job is to be a dick and get us almost killed.
I know, that's and then somebody else saves us, and
Right,
then
yeah.
you take all the credit for it.
Yeah, exactly. That's
That's
the
you.
Wicket thing. So
I'm
you
the
do
magic
that.
guy
I'll stick with the magic.
with the girl. I'm the magic guy with the girl.
Yeah, with a girl.
Which
Yeah.
Latara is just nowhere, unfortunately. I
That's
love
true.
that
Where's she
dynamic
been?
between them.
Yeah.
So yeah, is what
Once
it is.
again, and I'm not going to blame the legendary George Rossas for the coloring here, but man, the palette of these comics is just so drab and weird. It's
Yeah,
bizarre.
Wicket's like red in this one and
He's
yellow.
strange. Yeah. There's very few colors. I felt like I had a pretty good time with this one overall. I liked it.
Yeah, I didn't. For all its little weird faults, I
Yeah.
honestly didn't. It. I kind of would read through when I read through it the first time. I was like, oh, that doesn't make sense. And I actually missed what you just said with like, why does he need Logray's staff if
Right. Right.
apparently he can make things? Because I did think
Yeah.
of that. I was just like, well, if he can make things hot,
Right.
like that's seemed
Yeah.
that, but I didn't make that connection. Then why would he even need low
Yeah.
grade stuff? Like,
Right.
there's an even bigger
Right.
step beyond that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I kind of flipped back and I was like, did Wicket somehow like trigger something? Like, did he? But no, like it's always these little things. These are such nitpicks. But I just feel like when he broke into Logray's hut, he could have just knocked over some trinket that broke, and suddenly the ice
Yes.
guy, you know what I mean? Like something like that. I feel like would have just solved that problem. But
Yeah,
whatever, it's
without
fine.
having to manipulate. And it's funny how those things sometimes were like, "Ah, if they had just done this a little
Yeah,
bit differently."
yeah,
And for me, it was just like, wait, he had all this time to
yeah,
plan ahead and didn't know
yeah.
that he couldn't just grab the staff.
I
He didn't
guess.
know that the staff
Yeah,
wouldn't work
didn't know the
against
staff
Logray.
wouldn't work.
And
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
know.
this guy, how long has this guy been there? Like a
Yeah,
week? Because
yeah,
it would seem like he'd have
maybe,
known these things by now.
maybe.
So yeah,
Yeah.
but that still didn't deter me. I was just like, this is actually like, here's peril. There was a little bit of
Yeah.
peril where
Yeah.
like a desperation move, and the Ice Demon was like, all right, well, if you're not going to give it to me, like, I'm going to kill him.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, oh crap, here we are back to like, this is
I
actual
think
real peril. So
this falls into that category of like, I would have watched this episode. Like, this could have been a fun episode.
I think it
You
would
know,
have been.
I think kind of
Yeah.
interesting. I'm trying to think if anybody was ever like transported magically in the series, and I feel like no, but I guess I have to go listen back to all our episodes to decide if
Yeah.
that's true. But
So yeah. I mean, there's something did happen in this that is my Ichiwawa moment,
oh,
which I
give
thought
it to
was
me.
really
Let's
cool.
jump to it. Let
All
me hear
right,
it.
yeah.
What is it? What is it? Ichiwawa.
So the concept of like the force being what it is in the movies, right? And then
Hmm.
how you and I have kind of recognized elements of the force being used in this,
Yeah,
but being explained
sure.
away as magic, right?
Hmm.
And so I was talking to somebody recently, and they brought up like, okay, well, the Metachlorians really just, I know like that's like a topic of the heated discussion,
Yeah.
but they were saying that like what's described in by George Lucas in like some other thing is that they allow you to be attuned more to the force. So the force is an
Oh,
energy, but the Metachlorians then, and I was just like,
they're like
okay,
receptors or something.
yeah, like almost they allow you to, and I was just like, all right, well, all right, I'm gonna have all that on hold, but like it's the fact that we see Logray use this dust, use this powder
Yeah.
to then levitate those icicles, the massive like stalagmites
Yeah.
or tights that are gonna crash down on his head.
Uh-huh.
He flips it up and then like holds them there, and I'm like, I wonder if whatever dust they're using
Hmm.
also allows them to be attuned to the force. So Logray is actually
Oh,
using the force. He's not using magic, but they believe it's magic because, well, if they don't have a piece of attunement like the crystal in Logray's
hmm.
staff, or the little crystals, the little dust that they fling into the air, then the
Okay.
Ewoks themselves have no attunement to the Force or not able to grasp it, right? So it's something like, it just got me thinking of like, wow, like we don't really ever, they never really explain what they're using,
True.
and it seems like it might be something like that that allows them to access the Force.
Hmm.
I think that's
Yeah,
really cool. I think that's
it could
something
be.
no one ever talks
It
about
could
this.
be.
We're the only ones to talk about this right now.
Here
We're
we are.
talking about this.
Yep.
And so I just think
Wading
I
into
thought
the
that was like
midichlorian
a
debate. 25
yeah.
years too late.
Well, yeah, I'm adding another layer to this
Okay.
debate
Okay.
of, well,
Yeah.
now Ewoks and the dust. Explain to
Perfect.
me, not
That's
using
good.
midichlorians, yeah,
That's
like
good. It wasn't divisive enough, so thank you for jumping in
I know.
there. Woo.
What about you? What was your Ichiwan moment?
Mine is more of a plot point. I really liked that Wicket, is showing off and he does the dumb trick and it just ends up being these like, the light. And the way
Mhm.
Logray uses that, knowing like, okay, I can't really use the staff. I only have Wicket here. He can only do
Yeah.
one thing. How do we make that work? And he gets it to like melt the ice. And I thought that was really I like when something is set up early and pays off in the end, because it doesn't always in these Ewok
Yeah.
things. Like sometimes we have setups that go nowhere, and sometimes we got things that come out of nowhere. So I
Yeah.
liked just from a storytelling standpoint, I like the setup payoff thing, and I thought it was a cool use of Wicket's lame
They did
magic.
bookend it. I thought it was
They
weird
did.
though that like
They did.
I thought it was interesting to me. I thought it was I just chuckled at it that it was just like Wicket actually performed the trick correctly this time.
True.
And it was just like
That's true.
you think Logray really wanted him to perform it like he did the first time where it like
Right.
exploded everywhere?
Yeah.
And it's like, ah,
Yeah.
darn, Wicket, I wanted you to perform it improperly so that, it would explode over the
Right.
ice demon's head, but instead he performed it correctly, but by proxy it still successfully defeated, So yeah, that was kind of funny. That made me chuckle. Like, oh, I wonder if he actually
Yeah.
wanted him to do that.
Right. Right. What about your Oak of Arc? What did you not like?
I
And it
I've
also has to relate to midichlorians. Just to put that, you have to tie it
I have
in.
another layer to add.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I thought it was a little bit lame that the ice demon's weakness was dripping water. I'm just gonna put that out there. That like,
Mhm.
the I mean, it made sense, I guess, that like, okay, the magic and the heat from the crystal's light
Yeah.
doesn't melt him because it's magic.
Right.
But then the ice above him isn't. It is affected by the heat
Right.
of the
Right.
crystal's light, and so it drips on him. But I was just like, man, this guy lives in an ice cave. He's never had like a drip on him ever,
Yeah. He's
ever in his life.
never had a warmer day in his life.
And so to me, like, I was just like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
oh man.
I agree with that too. Let me just give you a reading from the comic, okay?
Yeah.
Wicket says it's freezing on contact, and the ice demon says, "No, not water. I'm freezing." And Logray says, "And trapped by your own power, you fiend." And I'm like, "What? What do you mean?
Like,
What do you
doesn't make any
mean?
sense. Yeah,
How's he
what?
trapped by his own power? Why is he afraid of water?" I don't know. I
He
feel like
is water.
he is water, and if he can change temperatures, like, yeah, it didn't melt him. It melted the ice around him, and that in melting the ice, it froze him. So there's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot to unpack.
Now,
You're right.
within
You're right.
the melting, there was also
I can see that we've gone
freezing.
too far once again.
It's
Once
even worse
again.
than midichlorians.
Somewhere David Manick, the writer of this, is like, "Look, I don't need you two idiots poking out this thing I wrote in 15 minutes in 1985."
He's like, son of a gun, I thought that was forgotten forever.
Yeah, we're doing him a disservice.
Mm.
I do feel like the thing that I just kept coming back to was like, if he can watch everything that happens, if he can affect the outside world, then like, what are we even talking about? That was a thing for me.
Right.
That was my Oak of Arc. I was just like, well, but especially when you're having Wicket mess with magic he doesn't understand, just have him trigger something, rather than the guy finally like, oh, perfect, an Ewok got Logray's staff finally. What?
Yeah,
don't
and that's
know.
where like I think there should have been like he can see everything that's going on.
But why even that? That's what I don't
That's
understand.
true, yeah.
Is that part of his ice powers that he can see everything? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I thought, well, it would have been better if he saw it and then like
It's a weird power
sent
structure
a
is all.
minion to go like trick Wicket into like
Yeah,
grabbing
sure,
a wand.
sure.
Like, oh, a
Yeah,
wand? Oh, okay, cool. That's
yeah,
even better. And then
right.
poof, he gets,
Yeah,
so yeah,
yeah.
it's
We're talking me out of it, so you gotta be careful.
well, I still liked it, but it's
I
like
did too.
it's because it felt like one of those episodes of Ewoks that was just like, it was really, really simple, so I really
Yeah,
can't
sure.
like knock it too much.
Yeah,
But there was still, I don't know. I just thought this one was fun, and it felt to
I
me
agree.
again. This one felt to me like an Ewoks episode,
Yeah,
which I think is very important to me. Is
sure.
very important because they were written together,
Concurrent,
right?
concurrent.
Yeah, they were written,
They
and
were.
so it's just like if these people, even though it seems like none of these people talk to each other, that if
Yeah,
there's any every once in a while a comic that kind of jives with the show, that's really cool to me. That like
yeah,
that shows that like those people got it. So whoever wrote that episode and whoever wrote this comic kind of had that wavelength of like this is what Ewoks should be.
yeah.
And I
Yeah.
feel like this is what
Well,
Ewoks should be. This this kind of
it's
comic.
I think, because we've talked about like what were they thinking, like why do they make Ewoks like this? But I
Mm,
think there is one thing that stands out to me a little bit is that these issues were not just adaptations of episodes. And
yeah.
there's a lot of comics from that time which are exactly that. Like
Yeah.
over on
Mhm.
over on 902 and Here We Go a while back, we interviewed Mel Gilden, who wrote the 90210 novelizations, and he also wrote for the show James Bond Jr., which was another like 80s cartoon. And he was
Oh.
saying they adapted his script into a comic book and he didn't get credit or anything like that. They just kind of took it
Really?
and ran. Yeah, I don't know. It's a cool interview. So go listen
Oh,
on 902 and Here We Go. But that's what I mean. It's like the Ewoks had the Ewok episodes. They could have been adapting those into comics, but they took the time to hire people with like
yeah.
some serious credentials to make these comics. So,
Yeah.
they're at least taking it seriously on one end.
It's funny too, like when that Jack, the colorist worked alongside Jack Kirby. Now I
Yeah.
know that's the colorist and not the
Yeah.
person who drew it, but
Yeah.
the first time I saw the Ice Demon, I was like, that reminds me of that one artist. What's his name that draws all the big headdresses
Yeah.
on all the? And I was like,
Yeah.
Jack
Yeah.
Kirby.
Yeah.
I think it's Kirby. I didn't know Jack. I was just like, I think it's Kirby. Kirby
Yeah. You're not
somebody
wrong. I could
Kirby.
see it.
And I was
If
just
it
like,
was a Jack Kirby design, he would have a million more like buttons and
there
bangles
would be
on his
yeah,
front.
but it was the head
No,
there
you're
has to
right.
be some sort
Yeah,
of horn type thing and,
true. It's
which
it's sort of
also
like
reminds me
Galactus or the New
Galactus,
Gods or
yeah,
something. Yeah,
and so, it harkens to it, not
I agree.
exactly like it just reminds me so anytime I see a villain that has some
Yeah,
helmet with these wild things on it, it reminds me of that, like, oh, that
yeah,
person, whoever drew it, must either like Jack Kirby or have worked with Jack Kirby
yeah,
because that was quintessential Jack Kirby to do that.
for sure, for
But,
sure.
did he feel very demony to you? I know we talked
No,
about that earlier. Yeah,
no,
he
he
kinda
didn't.
didn't
He
either to
didn't. I
me.
I I don't know. I mean, he didn't feel anything. That's the thing. Like his powers didn't make sense. He could have been like
Yeah.
the ice wizard or something, but demon, yeah, he just seemed
Or
like
the ice monster or the
yeah.
ice troll.
Yeah, or
Troll, I feel like
don't even
troll
give
would
him a name. Just call him. He has a name, right? Like Shagor
Stagor.
or Stagor.
Stagor.
Stagor. Yeah, you could just call him
Which is
Stagor.
a cool name, I
You know,
gotta be honest, that's
it
a
is
cool name,
cool. It's good.
Stagor. Yeah.
Yeah. Although that feels kind of Hanna Barbera and Thunder the Barbarian esque, but
Oh, it does.
Stagor.
Stagor.
Anyway, I feel
Stilgar,
we've
that's
I
a
feel we've
good
lost
yeah.
the thread of this episode.
Oh, crap. Let's reel it
uh,
in.
yeah,
Yeah,
let's do
alright.
it. Let's do it. Okay. How many yub nubs?
I feel like I gotta give this one, like, a 3.75 to a
Okay.
4 because,
Okay.
like, I didn't dislike it, but I think it was on the weaker side of the ones that I did like. And so if there's stuff that, I say like, "Oh, I really, really like this," I'm probably not gonna give it much lower than a 4.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. I enjoyed it, but there were some problems, but they didn't really take away from
Yeah.
how fun it was just to read it. So
Yeah.
3.75, 4, maybe, yeah,
I'm same.
3.75.
I'm
Yeah.
same. I'd say rounding up, I'd say a nice 4 because
Okay,
it
yeah.
was a fun read. We found things to complain about, but reading it, I was kind of like, yeah, why not? Fight that ice
Like
demon. Show him who's
like,
boss,
yeah, okay.
you
You
know?
thought you could take it, but you can't,
Yeah.
like, I just thought that was funny that he failed so many times,
Yeah.
so
He did. Poor guy. Okay.
yeah.
Well, next time we're going to be watching Droids, and it's kind of the end. It's the end of season 1 because we're going to be
Yeah.
covering Treasure of the Hidden Planet, which includes episodes 10 through 13. And the story on this is by Ben Burt. That's a new name, so it's going to be interesting to
Mm.
see if these have a different feel. If this was sort of like a change in direction, I don't know. I honestly don't remember these episodes, so we'll see what happens when we
I
get there.
don't either, and I'm excited to be done with Manjalpa. So
Manjorba.
hopefully
He's in the past.
he's all right.
He's in the
He's all right.
past,
I
but
can't knock.
he's always in our hearts. He's always in our hearts, Manjolva.
Well, yeah, I can't wait. I'll see you then,
Yeah,
man.
that's where I'll be.
All right. This Endorian Life was brought to you by the Radio Meanwhile Network. Other shows on the network include 90s Music Got Me Like, previously on X-Men, and 9021 Here We Go. Share your thoughts on this and upcoming episodes by following us on Facebook or X at Endorian Life. And please rate, subscribe, and share the show wherever you get your podcasts.